Now, all of these tailoring terms have the word seam in them, which really kind of tripped me up in the beginning. But don't worry, I'm gonna help clear up any confusion you might have. Ill-fitting clothes and 45-second intros? No. I'm SD, let's go. The seam edge, it's the end, it's the abyss. It's that point where you can't go any farther, and if you try, you're probably gonna have a bad time. Nah, not really, I just couldn't think of anything funny to say there. If you were to look at your garment really close, like really close, under a microscope, it would look like this. The fibers running horizontally are called the warp, and the fibers running vertically are called the weft. Why are you telling me this? I just want my clothes to fit better. Okay, so the edge in and of itself really isn't all that important, but what you do after you cut it is. When you cut across that garment horizontally, the warp, yeah, it really doesn't care that much. But the weft, oh, the weft acts all emo about it, and it freaks out and it does its best to just kind of wiggle its way down. All it wants to do is just unravel itself and do just enough to piss you off because it gets all over the inside of your washing machine. Now, when you cut the edge after sewing with a pair of scissors, you can finish that edge in one of three ways. One, you can use some pinking shears, which are gonna cut a zigzag pattern on there, and it's gonna stop the weft from being a straight D-bag and just unraveling on you. This is the part where I would show you some B-roll of me cutting some garments with some pinking shears, but to be real with you, I don't own pinking shears. I don't want to go spend 12 bucks on them because I know that the only thing that I will use them for is that shot, and I will never use them again. So if you want to know what they look like, just go Google image them. 2, you can sew a zigzag stitch over that edge to stop it from unraveling, which is exactly what I do. Oh, and you might hear it referred to as an overcast stitch, but just don't panic, it's the same thing. 3, you can use a serger machine, which is going to put a perfectly professional looking zigzag stitch on there while also cutting it at the same time. But I don't like this method at all because a serger machine, it's gonna be like twice the price of a normal sewing machine. And if you're doing this on like a mass scale, if you are tailoring a ton of different things, yeah, go ahead. Invest in a serger machine, but if you want to just tailor a couple of shirts, it's not cost effective. Just get a sewing machine. You right there watching right now, flip your shirt inside out. Look at that seam. You see that? See how nice that looks? That was done by a serger. If somebody wants to send me a serger, my address is, well, if the seam edge is the edge of your fabric, then the seam itself is what? The actual stitches are the part that looked really janky when I started. It is either that new stitch seam that you just made on your garment, or it's the old one that, well, it came with. It can be long, it can be short, it can be tense, it can be loose. All of really just, well, it just depends on what it is that you're tailoring. Now, you wanna try and have the strongest stitch that you possibly can. So you wanna make sure that you match up whatever it is that you're tailoring with the right thread. And we've talked about it before. Polyester thread goes with what? What does it go with? Goes with polyester garments, right? And then cotton garments go with what? Cotton thread. Most of these have their own video if you're confused. I'd point to a card that's gonna pop up, but I always point to the wrong side, so let's just point to both sides. And I need you to understand this. Those are not hard and fast rules because depending on what it is that you're tailoring and what you're going to do in it, you might kind of mix and match those a little bit. Meaning if you want to wear something that actually stretches and moves and you're going to be active in, probably you want to use polyester thread because it's going to stretch, whereas cotton thread, yeah, cotton thread is softer and more comfortable, but it doesn't stretch or flex at all. SD, what the hell is this long intro in my video? JK, much love. Seam allowance is the trickiest one, but I am about to blow your mind with how simple it is to understand in about 5 seconds. Are you ready? The seam allowance is just the distance between the edge and the seam. If you make your seam allowance either too short or too narrow or too close together, you're not gonna have enough room at all to use pinking shears on it or to actually make an adequate zigzag stitch. And if it's too wide, then it's just gonna look dumb and it's gonna be really uncomfortable. Well then, how wide should it be? About 1/4 of an inch to 1/2 an inch. That should do you well. That's all I got for you. SD out, deuces! I just woke everybody up with that one. Whoops.